Baby, before I say anything else, hear this the way your spirit hears thunder on a quiet night. I am not asking to meet because I miss you. I'm asking to meet because there is a truth inside me that refuses to live in the dark another hour. I've tried to swallow it. I've tried to outwork it, outrun it, drown it in noise and new faces, and the fake comfort of being fine, but it keeps rising, like breath after breath, like your name when I'm half asleep, like the line of a song that won't stop singing me. I need to see you without the crowd, without the commentators, without the eyes that don't know what our silence holds. I need a room where the lights are low, where my hands can shake without shame, where I can finally confess the thing I could never type, and where your heartbeat can answer me, not your pride. I don't want a scene. I want a door that shuts. I want the kind of quiet where truth doesn't have to yell to be heard. I know. Me asking for private probably sounds like the old me trying to tuck you into the shadows again. But this isn't that. This isn't about secrecy. It's about sacredness. There are words that were never made for an audience, and what I owe you is one of them. I owe you the thing deeper than sorry, louder than I miss you, braver than maybe we can try again. I owe you the map I should have handed you the day you touched the broken parts of me and said you'd stay until they learned a new language. I owe you the truth of what really happened in me, not the version I hid behind control, behind timing, behind not now. Baby, I want to meet because the weight of the unsaid is starting to cost me air. Because what I have to tell you is not a headline. It's a vow I should have made when you were still close enough to hear it in my breathing. I remember the last time we were together. The way you watched me like you were trying to memorize a storm. You felt the pressure changing even when I smiled. You knew there were words gathering behind my teeth like rain. And you waited, patient, the way oceans are patient with a shore that keeps erasing the same footprints. I gave you crumbs of admission. I let the truth peek out, and then I slammed the door because I was afraid of how real it would feel if I said it out loud. I chose caution like it was wisdom. I chose distance like it was dignity. I chose, God help me, peacekeeping over peace. And in the choosing, I made you carry a silence I should have shouldered alone. That is what I have to face with you, not in a text, not in a call that can end mid-sentence, but in a room where I can't pretend I'm not trembling, and you can't pretend you're not exhausted from being brave. For both of us, I'm not asking to meet to convince you I've changed. I'm asking because I finally understand why I froze when it was time to move. I thought I was protecting you from my chaos, but I was protecting my pride from your clarity. I kept the curtains closed because your light exposes what dust still lives in me, and I didn't know back then that exposure is the beginning of cleansing. You were never the threat. You were the mirror. And when I looked into you, I saw the man I could be standing right beside the boy I had been for too long. It terrified me. It also saved me. That's what I want to tell you, not as an apology letter carved into the air, but as a testimony with a pulse. I want to tell you about the night I finally admitted your absence wasn't just quiet. It was consequence. How the bed felt like an unanswered question. How the kitchen light at 2 a.m. made the whole house look like a witness who refused to lie for me anymore. How I heard the echo of your laugh in a stranger's and almost chased it down the aisle of the store like a fool, because I thought if I could just stand near the sound of you, my lungs would remember how to work. I want to tell you how I learned that regret isn't the villain. It's the teacher that shows up with a soft voice and a harsh syllabus. I want to tell you how every new conversation tasted like water that forgot how to be wet. How every almost love was a hallway that led me right back to the locked door with your name on it. And I want to tell you how I finally found the key I should have used when you were still knocking. Not grand promises, not pretty speeches, just the courage to be honest before I'm certain, devoted before I'm comfortable, present before I'm perfect. I want to meet, because there are things I can only answer while looking at you. The way your eyebrows lift when you're weighing truth. The way your shoulders soften when you decide to believe. The way your breathing tells me if I'm hurting you or healing you. I don't deserve that read on your soul anymore, I know. But I'm asking for the chance to earn one last audience with your silence, not to perform, to confess. To put the ruin on the table and show you where I rebuilt and where I'm still laying bricks. Slow, steady, with my name signed to the work. I need you to know I'm not here with a fantasy of easy. I am here with a blueprint that includes weather, includes setbacks, includes the days when faith feels like lifting and we lift anyway. Do you remember the small things? The way you'd set your phone face down and give me both hands like a sacrament? The way you'd say my full name when my head went dark, like you were calling me back to the surface? The way you never tried to win arguments. You tried to win understanding. Those small things are the giants now. They roam my days like reminders that love isn't a fireworks show. It's a campfire we keep feeding when the night gets cold. And baby, the night has been cold. Not dramatic, not tragic, just long. Long enough to learn that what we had wasn't fragile. I was. What we had wasn't complicated. I was. What we had wasn't temporary. My courage was. If you ever wondered whether I got it now, yes, down to the bone. There's also something I never said because it felt too holy to touch without clean hands. You taught me the difference between privacy and hiding. Privacy is where love grows. Hiding is where fear rots. I hid you in the name of protecting us. But really I was protecting a version of me that couldn't carry the weight of being known. You deserved my public honor as much as my private softness. You deserved a simple sentence that would have changed everything. She's mine, and I'm proud. I didn't give you that sentence in time. I can't rewrite our calendar, but I can change the language of my life now so that every room I enter, the truth enters with me. If grace ever lets our paths braid again, there will be no separate closets for light and love. It will be one room, one table, one name I say without flinching. And still, I am not coming to you with a request you can't carry. I'm not here to tug at wounds that finally scabbed over. I'm here to respect your healing and tell you a truth that belongs to you whether we ever hold hands again or not. You were not a chapter I outgrew. You were the compass I outfeared. I have been walking in circles brave enough to call themselves roads. I'm done with circles. I'm done with rehearsing the same almost. I'm done with if only prayers that end before they touch the ground. I am ready for simple, for honest, for ordinary days that feel like miracles because we actually show up for them. If you give me that private room, I'll bring what I never brought, my timeline with the locks removed, my explanations without the excuses, my plans with your peace at the center, my phone face down like you taught me, my voice steady enough to say the sentence that should have been the first sentence all along. I choose you, and I'm willing to live like it looks. I'm willing to do the slow work and the quiet work. I'm willing to tell the truth to the people who once benefited from my silence. I'm willing to lose the image to keep the intimacy. I'm willing to let the old me mourn while the new me signs the lease on a future that doesn't flinch when love calls it home. Maybe you've moved on. Maybe your heart found a town with less weather. If that's true, I'll bless it with both hands. I'll honor the door you locked and never rattle it again. But if there is any part of you that still wonders whether the words you waited for might one day arrive, let me bring them to you in person, with eyes that don't look away and a spine that doesn't bend when it's time to mean it. I won't ask for forever in that room. I'll ask for coffee, for a chair, for 10 minutes, where your spirit can test the weight of my clarity and decide whether it wants to hear the rest. Before I close this, I'll say the thing that costs me pride and gives me peace. You were right about me. You saw the man beneath the performance. You knew there was a future knocking, and that I was pretending I didn't hear it, because answering meant moving out of the house fear built for me. Thank you for being brave enough to love me beyond the edges of my courage. Even when I made your bravery feel like a burden, I will spend my days paying that debt to life itself, whether you spend them with me or not. If any part of this reached you beyond the noise of the past, whisper it back to me so I know where to meet you. Comment, I'm ready to hear you. If your heart wants that private room with the lights low and the truth finally standing on its own 2 feet, I'll be there. No hiding, no half-love, no borrowed courage. Just me, the man you always said I could be, walking in with both hands open and one simple prayer on my lips. Let me speak it right this time. Baby, if you gave me that room, if you slid the bolt and let the quiet sit between us like a witness, the very first thing I would do is breathe your name like an apology I finally learned how to pronounce. Then I would tell you everything I hid behind timing, behind maybe later, behind the safe mask of a man who looked steady on the outside but was shaking on the inside. I would tell you that privacy is not where I plan to keep you. It is where I plan to undress my truth so it stops staining your memory. I would tell you that I have already told my own reflection what I should have told you in daylight. That I am done with halfway love, done with rehearsing the best version of myself while giving you the edited cut, done with leaving you to interpret silence like it was scripture. I would tell you the dates I now honor like holy days. The first time your laugh made my shoulders drop. The last time I saw your eyes close when you prayed for me without asking for anything back. The evening the house grew honest and even the walls refused to hold another lie. I would tell you how my mother's voice, steady like a lighthouse, cut through the fog and named you safe. How that blessing did not give me permission to code. It gave me responsibility to rise, to become, to protect, to speak. I would tell you that I have already said your name in rooms that once traded it like currency, and I watched those rooms lose their power over me. I would tell you that if love is a country, I am finally at the border, my passport signed truth, and I do not plan to return to the land of almost baby. I need you to know the plan. Because love without a plan becomes a story we keep rereading until the pages tear. If you say yes to coffee, I will not bring fireworks and empty vows. I will bring a calendar with space made in ink, not pencil. Mondays are for the mundane miracles, grocery lists and eye contact. Tuesdays are for the truths we dodge. Wednesdays for remembering what we're building when work tries to make us forget. Thursdays for touch that says we're still here. Fridays for laughter we don't apologize for. Saturdays for family, even if family is just us and two mugs in a hallway full of light. Sundays for the sacred we choose on purpose. I will bring boundaries that keep the walls where they belong. Boundaries that keep your peace where it can breathe. Not boundaries that threaten you with distance, but walls that guard us from the winds that use to blow us off the path. I will bring my phone face down and my attention faced up. I will bring apologies that are not flowers placed on the grave of the same mistake. They will be bricks in a road I must walk every day. I wake up as the man who refuses to lose you to his own laziness again. I will bring a list with 3 columns: what dies, what lives, what we grow. And I will ask for your hands on that paper, because this time we are not letting chance write us. We are giving choice a pen, and we are signing our full names. The truth I have carried is not small. It is not something that can be squeezed into half sentences or masked with polite smiles. It is heavy like stone, and it has lived inside me like an echo waiting for the right silence to bounce against. And that is why I need the private moment. Because this is not about making you miss me or impressing you with regret. It is about handing you the weight I should have shared long ago. The weight of my choices. The weight of my silence. The weight of the nights I left you wondering while I convinced myself that love could wait until I was ready. When the truth is, love was the only thing that ever made me ready for anything at all. Do you know what happens when you try to bury truth under fear, baby? It doesn't die. It grows roots. It winds itself around your ribs until you can't breathe right. Until every laugh feels borrowed. Until every new face feels like a poor translation of a language your soul already knows by heart. That's what I have been living in. Rooms that looked full but felt empty. Conversations that made noise but gave no peace. Nights where even sleep refused to stay because it kept reminding me of the one face I should have been falling asleep beside. And every time I tried to convince myself that moving on was healing, something inside me would whisper your name like a prayer I wasn't brave enough to finish. And baby, there's more. Because while I kept pretending to be fine, the people closest to me noticed the storm. My brother told me he hadn't heard my real laugh since the last time you called. My mother, the same woman who once questioned if you belonged in my life, looked me in the eyes and said, "You are not living, you are surviving." And the difference began when she walked away. Those words broke me because they exposed what I thought I was hiding so well, that your absence is not just distance, it is famine. It is hunger that no amount of noise, no amount of distraction, no amount of new connections could fill. And when my mother said it, I knew it wasn't judgment. It was recognition. She had seen me both ways, with you and without you, and the contrast was undeniable. That is why I keep saying private, baby, because these are not words for a crowd. They are not meant to be consumed like gossip. They are meant to be planted like seeds in the soil of the very heart that once carried me when I didn't know how to carry myself. And maybe you don't want to hear it. Maybe the door you once kept open is locked now, and I will respect that. But if there is even a corner of your soul that still wonders why I froze, why I ran, why I let go of the very thing that made me most alive, then I need to put this confession in your hands like a letter signed in my blood. I was never running from you. I was running from the mirror you held up, the one that showed me a man I didn't believe I could become. But here is the shift, baby. I am no longer afraid of that reflection. I have met him now, the man who doesn't flinch at honesty, the man who doesn't worship fear like its protection, the man who knows that love isn't meant to be hidden away in private, but first proven in private before it can be carried in public. That is who I am becoming, and I am not asking you to believe it from my words alone. I am asking you to give me the space to show it, to let me stand in front of you without excuses, without performance, without a backup plan, and speak the one truth that has never changed, no matter how much noise life tried to stack on top of it. I choose you. I always did. I just didn't know how to live like it. So when I say, can we meet in private, it is not to hide you. It is to protect the sacredness of what must be said before the world tries to twist it. It is so that you can hear the tremble in my voice without 100 eyes turning it into entertainment. It is so that you can feel the sincerity that does not fit into texts or calls or rumors. It is because the weight I have to put in your hands is not casual. It is the kind of weight that demands silence, eye contact, and the kind of breath that only steadies when two souls remember why they ever collided in the first place. And baby, I promise you this, if you grant me that space, I will not waste it. I will not use it to beg for what I have not earned. I will use it to tell you the truth in full sentences, in full stops, in full surrender. I will use it to take back every moment I let fear speak louder than love. And whether your answer is yes or no, whether you walk back into my arms or walk out of my life forever, you will never again leave a room with me wondering how I feel, wondering if you were enough, wondering if I ever truly saw you. Because I did. I always did. And I will make sure you hear it without interruption, without distortion, without delay. There are things I never said, not because they weren't true, but because I didn't have the courage to let them breathe outside my chest. And now they beat against my ribs like a second heart that refuses to die, reminding me daily that silence is not strength. Silence is a slow erosion that steals love, grain by grain, until all you're left holding is dust. And that is exactly why I need the private room. Not to hide, not to sneak, not to cover, but to finally pour out what has been locked away in a vault of fear for far too long. Because if I don't say it now, I will suffocate beneath the weight of my own hesitation. I need you to understand what your absence did to me, baby. It wasn't just loneliness. It was like walking through my own house and realizing every wall had forgotten my name. Every corner had grown colder. Every photograph had dulled in color. And even the air had learned how to ache. I tried to live like it didn't matter. Tried to laugh in places where laughter didn't belong. Tried to smile so no one would ask questions. but every fake smile betrayed me. Every shallow joke cracked under the pressure of the truth. Without you, I was surviving, but I wasn't alive. And people noticed. My friends stopped asking me about the future because they could see I no longer believed in one. My mother stopped scolding me because she saw that I had already punished myself worse than she ever could. And I stopped praying out loud because I was afraid that if I spoke God's name, your name would follow behind it and I would break open in a way I couldn't control. Do you remember how I used to keep everything close to my chest, like my heart was some fragile document that would dissolve if anyone else read it? You broke that habit, baby. You taught me that vulnerability was not weakness, but the birthplace of real connection. You made me understand that walls don't keep you safe, they keep you alone. And I forgot that lesson when I let fear rebuild those walls. Brick by brick, the day I let you slip through my hands. Since then, I've been standing in a self-made prison, wondering why the light can't reach me. But I know now. It's because I closed the window myself. And if you allow me the chance, I will stand before you in that private room, and I will tell you the truth with the window wide open. No walls, no shields, just me, raw, trembling, but real. Baby, I am not here to beg for something I don't deserve. I am here to confess that your love was the only thing that ever showed me my reflection clearly. Do you know how rare that is? To look into someone's eyes and see the version of yourself you were always meant to become staring back at you. That's what you gave me. And I didn't just lose you when I lost you. I lost him too. The man I was when your presence softened my edges. The man who laughed louder, listened deeper, held tighter. That man still exists, buried under the rubble of my pride. But he is clawing his way back, and I swear to you, he will not stop until he earns the right to stand in your light again. I know the risk of asking for privacy. I know what it might look like, sound like, feel like to the outside world. But the truth is, the outside world has never lived what we lived. They don't know how your silence could fill an entire room with more warmth than most people's chatter. They don't know how your laughter could stop my panic, like a hand pressing against my chest saying, breathe. They don't know how your love made even the ugliest parts of me want to change. Not because you demanded it, but because you inspired it. And I don't need them to know. I just need you to remember. I just need the chance to remind you that I do remember, that I never forgot, that even in my lowest moments, when I tried to convince myself I had moved on, every cell in my body still vibrated with the memory of you. So yes, baby, I am asking for a private meeting, not because I want to rewind, not because I want to hide, but because I want to build something new, something that isn't fragile or shadowed by shame. I want to tell you that I am not afraid anymore, not of being seen, not of being loved, not of choosing you in the open daylight, even if it costs me everything else, because I already learned the cost of not choosing you, and it is a price I will never pay again. And if you let me in that room, I will show you the blueprint, not promises that vanish in the morning, not words that sound good in the moment and fade by night. A blueprint, a plan that proves I have been doing the work in your absence, not waiting idly for you to return, but building the kind of man who deserves a second chance, if a second chance ever comes. I will show you the roots I planted in discipline, in honesty, in prayer. I will show you the scaffolding I built with therapy, with accountability, with friendships that don't let me slide back into old habits. I will show you that this is not a performance, it is a process. I am already living, and I want to invite you into it, not as my savior, but as my partner. And baby, if your heart says no, if the door stays closed, I will still thank you, because your love was never wasted. It built me, it broke me, it remade me, and I will honor it, whether or not I ever hold your hand again. But if your heart says yes, if even a flicker of curiosity burns in your chest, then let that be the signal. Let that be the spark, because I am ready to step into the fire this time. Not as a man afraid of burning, but as a man who knows that only what is real survives the flames. Baby, there are truths that don't fit inside the daylight, not because they are shameful, but because they are sacred, and what I want to pour into your hands belongs in that kind of space. The kind of space where silence is not awkward, but holy, where our breathing becomes the only music, where the world shrinks to just two souls, and the unspoken weight between them finally finds a voice. That's why I keep asking for privacy, because this is not a performance, not a speech, not a scene. I don't want eyes watching. I don't want ears twisting. I don't want our story to be filtered through mouths that were never part of the covenant we shared. I want to look at you, no audience, no distraction, and say what I should have said 100 times before the silence swallowed us. Baby, I never stopped loving you. Say him. I never stopped loving you. And I know those words sound simple, but they are not light. They are not decoration. They are the heaviest stones I carry, the ones that built the walls between us when I refused to set them down. And if you let me stand before you, I will lay them at your feet, one by one. I will tell you the whole map of how I lost myself when I lost you, how I tried to convince my own body that I could survive without the sound of your voice, how I sat in rooms full of people and still felt starved because none of them spoke the language my soul learned from you. Do you know what it feels like to be surrounded and still deserted? That's what it was like, baby. That's what every day became when you weren't there. I thought time would fix it. I thought maybe if enough weeks passed, the ache would fade into something manageable, like an old scar that only hurts when it rains. But this wasn't that kind of wound. This was the kind that kept bleeding, no matter how much I wrapped it in distractions. Every "I'm fine" was just another bandage that soaked through by nightfall. Every attempt to smile in front of others was another stitch that ripped open the second I was alone. And I realized something cruel and holy all at once. Love, like ours, doesn't fade. It waits. It waits in the corners of your room, in the pauses between your sentences, in the dreams that come uninvited. It waits because it knows it was never ordinary. And baby, my mother saw it too. She saw the shift in me, even when I refused to name it. She saw the way my eyes dulled when your name stopped being spoken. She saw the way I filled my calendar, but never my spirit. And when she finally broke her silence and told me you were better when she was near, it was like thunder cracking across a sky I thought was clear. Because she was right. I was better. I was softer. I was more alive. And you, without trying, without begging, without performing, were the reason. That is why I need to meet you in private. Because this isn't something that belongs in texts. It isn't something that belongs in rumors. It isn't something that belongs in the hands of people who will twist it for their own amusement. It belongs between us. It belongs in the space where we can look each other in the eye and remember the fire we almost let the wind consume. I want to say to you, without flinching, without hesitation, that I am ready to fight for what I once let slip away. I am ready to rebuild, not as a boy grasping at what he doesn't understand, but as a man who finally knows the weight of what he holds. And if you let me, baby, I will not just speak it, I will show it. I will show it in the way I answer your doubts without defensiveness. I will show it in the way I honor your boundaries without complaint. I will show it in the way I choose you in every room, not with grand gestures, but with consistent presence. Because love is not proven in moments of passion. It is proven in the quiet, in the daily choosing, in the way we hold on even when the world hands us every excuse to let go. So let me meet you in private. Let me bring the truth I've been carrying like a burning coal. Let me finally set it down where it belongs, between us, on the altar of a love that never died, only waited. And if your heart still carries even the faintest echo of what we once knew, then baby, let that echo lead you to the door. I will be waiting on the other side, with nothing but truth in my hands and your name on my lips. Baby, do you know what silence does to a heart like mine? It doesn't just sit quietly. It multiplies. It grows louder than thunder. It turns into echoes that replay the moments I should have spoken, the times I should have said, "You're my choice, you're my anchor, you're my forever." But instead of speaking, I let the silence do the talking. And the silence lied. The silence made you feel small when you were the reason my world even had meaning. And every day since, I've had to wake up inside the prison I built with my own unsaid words. That is why I cannot stay quiet anymore. That is why I need a private room with you. Because these truths are too heavy for texts, too sacred for casual conversations, too raw for an audience that would never understand. Baby, let me tell you something I never admitted. I was afraid of your power. Not the kind of power that controls or manipulates, but the kind of power that changes people. You changed me. You softened me. You healed me in places I thought were permanent wounds. And that terrified me. Because what if I lost that? What if I lost you? No, instead of leaning in, I pulled away. Instead of confessing, I hid. Instead of celebrating the miracle you were, I treated you like a risk. But baby, love is always a risk. The difference is, your love was the only risk that was ever worth it. And now, I finally see that what I was calling protection was actually self-sabotage. When I sit with myself late at night, I remember every detail. The way you used to look at me like you could see through the masks I wore for the world. The way your laughter melted my anger in seconds. The way your patience gave me space to fail without making me feel like a failure. And I realize now that love like that doesn't happen twice. Love like that isn't random. It's divine. It's assignment. It's a holy collision. And I treated it like it was optional. That's my sin. That's my regret. That's my truth. And baby, I can't carry it alone anymore. I need you to hear me say that I was wrong. Not just a little wrong. Not just we both made mistakes wrong. I was wrong in the deepest sense. I was wrong to let fear lead me. I was wrong to let silence replace honesty. I was wrong to let your name be spoken by others while I sat back and said nothing. And I was wrong to let the one who loved me most walk into a battlefield without me by her side. And that's why I am asking for privacy. Not to hide what I feel, but to finally say what I should have screamed when it mattered most. I should have defended you. I should have protected you. I should have chosen you out loud. You know what my mother told me? She said, "Do you realize she gave you a love that healed generations of pain you never understood? And you let it go?" Baby, those words shattered me. Because she was right. You weren't just my love. You were my medicine. You weren't just my partner. You were my sanctuary. And losing you didn't just break my heart. It broke the chain of healing that had finally begun. And now I see the truth. God placed you in my path, not as a test I failed, but as a gift I was too blind to honor. Oh, the moment was. So let me meet you in private. Let me sit across from you and lay every fear, every regret, every confession on the table. Let me look into your eyes and say the words I buried under pride. You were always the one. Not sometimes, not almost, always. And if I get the chance, I will not just love you quietly. I will love you publicly. I will love you consistently. I will love you like a man who has learned the cost of silence and will never pay it again. And if you choose to never open that door, baby, I will still honor you. I will still protect your name. I will still carry the lessons you gave me into every day of my life. Because you weren't just a chapter in my story. You were the whole book I didn't know how to read until it was too late. But if there is even a spark left in you, if there is even a flicker that still remembers what we were, then meet me just once. Meet me where the silence can't twist us anymore. Meet me where truth can finally breathe. Because baby, I don't want to live another day where the best part of my life is something I only remember. I want to live it again, and this time, I will not let fear steal what love already wrote in our souls. Baby, sometimes I wonder what you would see if you could step into my nights now. Not the nights where I'm surrounded by noise and pretending to laugh, but the real ones. The nights when the world is quiet, when the phone is face down and the mask is off, when the only sound is the hum of my own regret. You would see me lying there with your name pressed against the roof of my mouth like a prayer I don't dare release too loud, because if I do, the walls will echo it back and remind me how empty this place feels without you. You would see me reaching for the space where your head once rested, my fingers brushing against a pillow that has no heartbeat, no warmth, no memory, except for the ones I won't let die. You would see that I am not healed, not whole, not pretending anymore. I am just a man who has learned the difference between filling time and filling a soul. Do you know what I miss most, baby? Not the big things, though God knows I miss those too. Not the moments where our laughter carried like music across the night. Not the stolen kisses. Not even the way you looked at me when I surprised you with words you weren't expecting. What I miss most are the small things. The way you asked if I ate when you knew I hadn't. The way you noticed the crack in my voice before I did. The way you carried my pain like it was yours and never once asked for anything in return. The world applauded me for being strong, but you were the one who knew when I was barely standing. And baby, no one has done that since. No one has touched the raw parts of me with the kind of grace you carried so naturally. That's why I can't replace you. That's why every attempt to move on felt like trying to write poetry in a language that doesn't exist. And here's the truth I hate to admit. I thought keeping you private was protecting you. I thought hiding our love would shield it from judgment, from jealous tongues, from questions I wasn't ready to answer. But now I see it clearly. Privacy without honor is just hiding. And hiding is what killed us. Because love like ours doesn't thrive in shadows. It thrives in light, in declaration, in presence. I should have been louder. I should have been braver. I should have told the world, this is the woman who healed me, who saved me, who turned my brokenness into something holy. Instead, I let silence do the talking, and silence lied to you. Silence made you believe you weren't enough when you were the very reason I ever believed in myself at all. Do you know how heavy that realization is? To know that the one person who carried you deserved protection, and you gave her distance instead. To know that the one soul who saw you in your lowest moments deserved clarity, and you gave her confusion instead. It haunts me, and every time my mother brings up your name, it feels like both a dagger and a balm, as she says things like, she was good for you, or I saw how different you were when she was here. And it reminds me that she saw it too, even she, who once doubted, now defends you. And baby, do you know what that means to me? It means you weren't just a love story in my head. You left evidence. You left impact. You left traces of heaven in a house that didn't know what peace felt like until your name was spoken within its walls. That's why I need to meet you in private, not to beg, not to manipulate, not to put pressure on wounds that may still be healing, but to honor you with truth, because I cannot let your name live in my family's memory with more reverence than it lives in mine. I cannot let them defend you while I stay quiet. I cannot let my silence keep robbing you of the one thing you always deserved, my voice, my full, unshaking voice saying, she is the one. She was always the one. And if I have anything left to give, it will be given in her direction. Baby, I imagine what it will be like to sit across from you again, to feel the weight of your gaze, steady and searching, to hear the pause in your breathing when you're deciding if you believe me, to watch your hands fold and unfold the way they always did when your heart was wrestling with itself. And in that moment, I won't try to decorate the truth. I won't try to make it sound pretty. I will just say what I came to say. I failed you. I failed us. But I am done failing. And if you let me, I will spend whatever time is left proving that love does not die just because I was too afraid to carry it the first time. And baby, I know what you're thinking. What if it's too late? And maybe it is. Maybe your heart has built new walls that I no longer have permission to cross. Maybe your silence isn't waiting anymore. It's closure. And if that is true, I will honor it. I will let you go in peace. But if there is even a spark left, even a flicker in the ashes, then let me be the man who kneels beside that fire and breathes it back to life. Not with promises, not with flattery, but with consistency, with presence, with the daily choice to love you in ways that leave no doubt. So baby, meet me in private. Meet me where the noise cannot interrupt us. Meet me where the past cannot twist our words. Meet me where I can finally lay everything bare and let you decide, not the world, not my fear, not the lies that once tangled our story. Just you, just me, just truth. Because at the end of it all, that's what you always deserved. Not half of me, not the shadow of me, but the whole man, the healed man, the honest man who knows now that love is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to be lived. And baby, if you give me even 1 hour in that room, I promise you this. When you walk out, you will never again wonder what you meant to me. You will never again doubt the depth of what we had. And whether you choose to stay or walk away, you will leave knowing the truth that silence kept locked away for too long. You were my miracle. You were my home. You were my forever. Even when I was too blind to see it. And baby, maybe that is the only closure we ever really needed. Not 1,000 questions, not 1,000 answers, not endless debates about who failed where, but the raw, unshaken truth that love was never the enemy, fear was. And now that fear has no place left to hide, I want you to walk away knowing that you changed me, even if we never sit at the same table again, even if our story ends in 2 separate homes. I will carry your name like scripture etched into my soul, because no matter how much time passes, you will remain the proof that I was once touched by something holy. And if grace allows, if destiny still has 1 more chapter written with our names side by side, then I will be ready this time. Ready to love without hesitation. Ready to fight without retreat. Ready to stand before the world and say, she is not my secret. She is my salvation. But even if that chapter never comes, baby, know this. My gratitude for you will outlive every season. My prayers for you will cover every mile between us. And my respect for the love we shared will never fade into bitterness. You were the miracle I almost missed. And now, whether from near or far, I will honor you for the rest of my days. Baby, if this is the last time my words ever reach you, then let me spend them like gold. Let me pour them out without reserve. Let me leave nothing unsaid. Because the truth I carry for you is not a poem, not a performance, not a fantasy. It is the marrow of my soul. It is the pulse that beats even when I'm sleeping. It is the one constant rhythm that never silenced, even when I tried to bury it under fear, pride, and distract. Baby, I kept you hidden once, not because I was ashamed, but because I was terrified of what it would mean to let the world know how much I needed you. But I understand now. Love that hides is love that dies. Love that silences itself becomes a wound instead of a shelter. And I swear to you with everything in me, I will never again allow your name to be spoken in a room where I don't defend it. I will never again let silence be mistaken for hesitation. If I have breath, I will use it to speak life over you. If I have hands, I will use them to protect what God placed in my care. And if I have time, I will spend it proving that you were always, always worth it. You see a boy who thought hiding was wiser than speaking. I see a fool who thought silence was everything. You, us, the best of you, your boy. I could never look up. I live in the sands was everything you, us. The only love that ever felt like home. And baby, I am not afraid to say it anymore. You were my greatest blessing, and I treated you like a temporary season instead of the eternal gift you were. For that, I will carry regret, but regret is no longer my master. Truth is, and the truth is this: I love you. I never stopped. I never will. So here I am, baby, at the end of this confession. And I am not asking for pity. I am not asking for an easy return. I am asking for one thing: the chance to meet you in private, to sit across from you without the world intruding, and to let you hear in my voice what silence once stole from you. I want to give you clarity, not confusion, honor, not hesitation, presence, not absence. If you never let me touch your hand again, I will still be grateful, because you changed me forever. But if you do let me close again, I will spend every day proving that love is not about hiding. It is about building, brick by brick, moment by moment, until there is no shadow strong enough to undo what was written in light. And baby, thank you. Thank you for being the only one who ever saw me when I didn't even see myself. Thank you for carrying a love so heavy that even my mistakes couldn't erase it. Thank you for reminding me, even in your absence, what it feels like to be known and still loved. You were my teacher, my healer, my mirror, my miracle. And whether this is goodbye or the beginning again, I will spend my life saying thank you. If these words spoke to your heart, if you felt like this message was written for you, then let it be a sign. Love is not meant to stay silent. Love is not meant to hide. And sometimes, the very thing you thought was over is the very thing God is still breathing life into. Type, I received this in the comments if this word stirred something in your soul. Let the heavens see your agreement. And before you leave, beloved, like this video if it touched you. Subscribe so you never miss what God and love are still trying to speak over your life. Share it with someone who needs hope tonight. From the bottom of my heart, super thanks to each one of you who supports this channel, who listens, who prays, who believes. You are the reason these words keep flowing, and I pray a blessing over you right now. May you walk into the season of love and truth you were always meant for. Because baby, the final word is simple. You were never forgotten. You were always chosen. And the story isn't finished yet.